Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our Sueur City Council meeting dated Monday, June 22nd, 2026. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Council members, you all received your packets over the weekend. You had time to look it over and reach out with any questions. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept tonight's agenda. So moved. Councilmember Huntington. Second. Councilmember Williams seconded. Any other discussion? Comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Presentation, Mr. Roby.
So we've messaged the our principal auditor. I'm not sure exactly where he is right now, so if it's all right with the council, we did confirm with him earlier today that he would be here. So it's all right with the council, we'll proceed with the rest of the agenda. And
we'll go ahead and then pull it back when he arrives. Okay. So with that said, we will move into
can we turn these screens so that we can see what's on the screens without having to shift all that way? That would be appreciated. Thank you. Yeah. Well, it's your whole screen. Okay. We need to be able to see that.
Well, that's perfect. Is that better?
Yep.
Wonderful. Moving on to consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and have been made available to the City Council at least 2 days in advance of the meeting. These items will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the agenda and considered in normal sequence. Mr. Roby, do you want to review these with us, please?
I would, thank you. First on the consent agenda is approval of City Council minutes from the June 8th, 2026 regular meeting. Next is approval of disbursements through today. Included in those disbursements are 5 items over $25,000. The first is Integrated Process Solutions, or IPS, for the Supervisory Controls and Data Acquisition Controls project associated with the Water and Wastewater Department. In, pay application number 4, this was included in the approved 2025 capital improvement plan. $82,888.81. Next, Deere & Company, a John Deere Airport mower, included in the 2026 capital improvement plan and also partially funded by a grant, $74,410.81. Item 3, the U.S. Bank debt service payment on the 2021A bond, which is for the Main Street reconnection, the million-gallon water tower and fire truck, $62,281.25. Next is the Minnesota Department of Revenue, city sales tax for May 2026, totaling $53,683. And finally, to Waste Management, May 2026, refuse and recycling services, totaling $27,383.30. Item C is approval of payment application number 4 for the Water and Wastewater Supervisory Controls and Data Acquisition, or SCADA project. Item D is approval of the Main Street closure application for the Raising Up for Rowan benefit. Item E is approval of resolution R 2026-040, appointing of election judges for the 2026 election cycle.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Does anybody have any questions regarding tonight's consent agenda? Anything you want to address, Mr. Roby? If not, I'll entertain a motion to pass tonight's consent agenda. So moved. Second. Councilmember Huntington, seconded by Council Member Schleter. Any other comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. This takes us on to, do we want to back up at this time?
If the council wishes to, we could, Mr. Grice has joined us. We can move back to the audit presentation.
Yes, so we will go to Mr. Grice for his presentation. Mr. Rope, do you have anything you want to introduce him with?
Sandy Grice with Creative Planning, Bergen KDB. Andy's been a principal auditor for the city of Sueur for several years now. Minnesota statute requires that all municipalities undergo a financial audit on an annual basis. and Mr. Grice's firm audit the city's financials and provide an opinion on the financial statement. And the audit is due for submission to the Office of the State Auditor by June 30th. Andy was gracious enough to come tonight to give the audit presentation to the council for the council to receive. The audit reports themselves, the financial statements, and the communications letter. Andy sent those over earlier today, so we will certainly send those out, and as always, they'll be available on the city website as well. I think that's all I have to kick things off, unless there are any questions from council before we begin.
Mr. Grace, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I know I sent over that PowerPoint presentation as well, so is it okay?
If you just
look
through,
at that. Just
there it
click the
is.
button.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for having me here tonight. As Joe mentioned, here to present the audit results for the year ended December 31st, 2025. There are two documents in the agenda packet, one being the financial statements and the other being our communications letter. That financial statement document is the city's financial statements, and our independent auditor's report that's included in that document highlights what our role is as your auditor. Joe mentioned that already, and that's to provide assurance as to whether those financial statements present fairly in all material respects, and we do that through our audit opinion. And happy to report that we are providing a clean or an unmodified opinion, which is the best that we can give as your auditor. We also wanted to highlight our government auditing standards report. That report talks about how we consider internal control over financial reporting when we perform our audit procedures. We don't provide an opinion or assurance as to whether the city's internal controls over financial reporting are appropriately designed or implemented. Rather, we are required to understand those processes just to determine how that impacts our risk assessment process and designing our audit procedures. And during that process, we did identify two deficiencies, one being a lack of segregation of accounting duties that we believe to be at the material weakness level, and that finding has been there in the past just based on the city's finance team size. And then we also had one for a material audit adjustment for an error that we identified as during that process. So those are the two findings for this year. We also have our Minnesota legal compliance audit report. That report also highlights that we don't provide any assurance as to whether the city complied with the state statutes listed in the legal compliance guide issued by the state auditor's office, but rather report any non-compliance that comes to our attention. We had no findings to report this year. Next, just wanted to highlight the other document, and that's our communications letter. That includes all required communication in accordance with audit standards, but also provides some emerging issues for some new accounting standards and how those would impact the city in the future, and also provide a financial analysis section that looks at some trend data just to provide some further perspective on the numbers here over the last 5 years. The first chart that we have highlights the general fund operations. As we can see here, revenues, transfers, as well as total expenditures have increased during that period, as well as fund balance that has changed over the course of the last 5 years. But I wanted to point out the fund balance ratio there down at the bottom, and that's a bit better measure in terms of financial health, just to know where the city is. And the state auditor's office recommends that that ratio be between 35 and 50%. One, to ensure appropriate cash flow for the bills that are becoming due on a regular basis, kind of based on the timing of tax receipts that come in, but also to be available for any shortfalls in revenue, any emergencies, anything that might be not anticipated, during that budget process. And you can see that that ratio has declined during that time period, meaning that those reserves are not kind of being reestablished. There are resources that are being used each reporting period that's presented there. We also take a look at the city's fund balance policy, which looks at that fund balance ratio as using the budgeted expenditure amount instead, and that ratio is at about 46% compared to about 52% back in 2024. Also wanted to highlight just the components of general fund revenues and where those dollars are coming from in the general fund. Majority comes from intergovernmental revenue, majority of that being LGA, and that was at $1.5 million overall in intergovernmental revenue here for 2025, compared to almost $1.7 million back in 2024. There was some additional grant activity back in 2024, and property taxes also increased from 37% to 41% of the overall pie there in general fund revenues, with an increase in levy. But those two sources represent 92% of overall general fund revenues. When we take a look at budget to actual results, revenues were very much in line with what was budgeted, just a 0.2% variance overall, so just $6,500. Intergovernmental revenue came in better than anticipated, just with larger grant amounts and aid amounts than anticipated, and that was offset by property taxes coming in less than anticipated, and that's just based on collections. The next chart highlights where those dollars are going in the general fund, and you can see here the majority is going to that public safety category. That ratio did increase. It went from 47% of overall expenditures back in 2024 to 54% here in 2025. And that was just with filling positions, additional salaries and benefits in that area. Obviously, that being your largest compared to general fund expenditures, you'd expect kind of the majority of your increase to occur there as well. You did see general government come down a bit. It was at 24% of overall expenditures back in 24, and that went down to 21%, and just with less cost there, allocation of cost there in the general fund here for 25. Looking at actual results in the general fund, overall was actual activity came in about 4% more than anticipated, or about $140,000. Most of that occurred in that public safety category with more overtime wages than anticipated in the budget, and that was offset by general government, which came in under budget by about $143,000, just being conservative for increasing costs there, and it ended up coming less than anticipated. Also wanted to highlight the tax capacity levy and rates here over the last 5 years. So with the increase in levy, which increased about $292,000, that compared to the tax capacity, which is tied to market values within the city, that increased about 1% or $47,000. So with an 8% increase in levy and only a 1% increase in that taxable tax capacity there, you do see that tax rate go up from about 81.9% to 86.7% here for 25. The following charts highlight the city's enterprise funds, and these present a bit differently in that these are full accrual funds. They operate like a business, and they should be used to be sure that you're establishing fees that are sufficient to cover the cost of providing those services. And so within operating expenses, it has depreciation expense, for example, because there are really large infrastructure needs in these funds, and you really do want to be sure that rates are established to cover, future needs when it comes to the, costly infrastructure that can come down the line. We can see here that operating revenues did increase here for 25, as well as the overall operating expenses, and did provide a surplus this year of about $668,000. We do provide that figure without depreciation as well, because depreciation is a non-cash operating expense, so can kind of make your operation seem a bit worse maybe than anticipated, and it also includes some of your full accrual items like pension liabilities, so things that you don't necessarily expect to pay for, but you still can use that unrestricted net position as a measure of financial health in this fund. The one thing that did occur here in 25 is there was a fair amount of transfers out to other funds to assist with capital needs, and so we did see that fund, or that unrestricted net position, decrease from $4.2 million to about $1.1 million here for 25. The sewer utility fund has had a deficit net position in each of the 5 years presented. With increasing rates, we did continue to see better surpluses going into 2025. So it's actually at a high point in the years presented at $1.6 million, and so we did see that unrestricted net position improve from a negative $2.5 million back in 2021 to a lesser negative here in 2025 at about $1.7 million. Next is the electric utility fund. This fund did experience an increase in operating revenue with an increase in consumption. Operating expenses increased as well along with that, and so did see a surplus of about $2.5 million. That did result in an increase in the overall unrestricted net position from about $6 million to almost $7 million. The last fund that I wanted to highlight is the community center fund, just because this one is a governmental fund, but does warrant some evaluation just to ensure that the cost of providing those services is covered through the fees that are being generated in terms of memberships. This one has struggled to cover all costs just through the memberships, and so this does have some other funding components, including property taxes and also kind of looking at that transfer area as well, that does contribute to some other to the general fund in terms of some of the resources that it uses on the general government side. But we have seen this fund improve to the best point that it's been at in the 5 years presented. It was at $731,000 in the negative or in the red back in 2021, and that's improved to a negative $433,000 here for 2025. So just continue to monitor each of those funds, the infrastructure needs, capital needs that they may have, just to determine what resources and reserves might be required to fund some of those initiatives, versus some of the financing that might be available for those as well. So those are the things that we wanted to highlight. And again, appreciate all the hard work, to be sure that that June 30th deadline was met here for this year. And so we appreciate all the work from Ryan and the staff and Joe as well. So that's all for tonight. And next, I'd just like to open up for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bryce. I appreciate your report. Hopefully you found all the information you needed pretty easily through Director Graff.
Yep, I think you're not getting some emails from me for a bit here, but definitely appreciate all of that.
How many years have you been doing this for the sewer?
I think we're going on a decade here, so.
Very good. Anybody else have any questions? There's a lot of information in a very short amount of time. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
With that, we will take us into the public comment. Public comment provides an opportunity for the public to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Person wishing to make a comment must sign up in advance of the meeting and provide their name and address on the sheet that has been provided. Do we have anybody here to make a public comment, Mr. Rowe? Got it. Okay, first of all, is it Bobby Kelly?
Yep, that's me.
Bobby, was this be regarding the agenda items?
She's gonna,
Okay, we'll wait with that, if that's okay.
Okay.
When we get to that item, I'll
let me know, thank you.
have you address everybody. And then, the other one is it Ken? Markham?
Yeah, it's
Same one? Is it okay if you guys address us when we get to that item?
Sure.
Okay, very good. Very good. So that takes us into the city administrator's update. Mr. Roby.
We have a comment. This is a perfect opportunity for me to remind everyone who is a utility customer in the sewer who hasn't already signed up. You go into our website and sign up for Smart Hub. Smart Hub is an easy way to track your water and electricity usage, set up payment plans, sign up for payments, and contact staff. So go to the City of the Sewer website, click on utility billing and a link to Smart Hub. And then all you need from there, I believe, is your name, which everyone knows, and your utility billing account number, which you can find on your bill, or certainly call in and talk to Ryan or Lindsay or Sally, and they'll get you set up. Congratulations to Chuck and Judy Browndeans, 2026 Giant Days Grand Marshals. I'm surprised we haven't seen them walking by through the windows here over the last 20 minutes, but very deserved. Congratulations to them. The last couple of weeks, we had a follow-up routes to school meeting with our core stakeholders, and we expect some planning and demonstration projects to come in the next couple of months. We look at some traffic and pedestrian safety improvements, specifically right out of the gate up at LSH Elementary and Middle School and High School in the area of Kingsway and Ferry Street. 2 weeks ago, staff participated in, received a facility condition assessment. The city had received a grant through Region 9 Development Commission covering a facility efficiency evaluation by contractor ICS. This was paid for entirely by Region 9. They evaluated city-owned facilities for efficiency and expanded their evaluation to consider some use of space questions, potential future capital improvements. I would like to bring this to City Council at some point in the next month or so to discuss what those findings are, look at the individual city facilities, and talk about potentially a long-term plan for the maintenance of city buildings. Planning Commission on June 11th held a public hearing on an item that will be on the regular agenda later. Fire Commission is meeting this Wednesday, June 24th. I'll be attending the Sueur County Board of Commissioners meeting tomorrow morning in the center. RPAC, Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee, will be meeting July 7th for their quarterly meeting. Planning Commission will again be meeting July 9th. EDA met earlier tonight, and I don't want to steal too much of council members leaders update. But one thing I do want to mention, especially since there's a good crowd here tonight, the EDA did sign an agreement for consignment auction for items at Park Elementary School. So the auction house, Southern Minnesota Auctions out of Nicollet, they've gone through the building and done a preliminary evaluation of the campus. They are putting together a list of potential lots for the auction. They'll bring that list back to the EDA just to make sure that the EDA is comfortable listing all of their proposed items with a potential for an auction as early as mid-August. And the EDA is preparing for an auction. There are no firm plans right now for demolition because the EDA is also working through a phase 2 environmental site assessment of the property that looks at everything from asbestos to lead paint to fuel oil storage. The results of that phase 2 assessment are anticipated sometime this summer, and then that will determine the EDA's drive the EDA discussion on next steps with the property. But as council will recall, at the last meeting, City Council authorized, or two meetings ago, Council authorized entering into a lease agreement with the EDA. So the city is currently leasing and for at zero cost from the EDA the former Park Elementary playground for use as a public park, continued use as a public park. And I know council members have received some feedback. Staff have also received feedback and inquiries from the public about the current ordinance regarding golf cart usage within the city of Sueur. This is an item that the police chief and I have had some conversations about, and we'll continue to have some conversations. So if the council wants to have a discussion in the future about what the ordinance means, why we have it in place, what things council might want to see changed, or information the council would like to look at, we can do so at a future meeting. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Anybody have any questions regarding this?
One question on the auction. Do we know if it's going to be online yet, or will it be in person?
It will be online. So the auction will be online. So they will be, once all the lots are identified, the photos are taken, and the EDA approves the list of items to be sold. All of those items will be listed on the auction house's website for sale. The auction house will also be installing some reasonably large banner on the side of Park Elementary School to advertise the fact that everything must go, fire sale. The school district did auction off a lot of the items that were not physically attached to the building before they sold it, but there's a lot of stuff still in that building that I expect will be on the auction list.
And that's just for interior items. It's nothing.
That is correct. It would be the intent of the EDA is to auction of items that will not risk exposing the interior of the building to the exterior.
Very good. So that takes us into our regular agenda. We'll start with regular agenda item 8A, which is the citywide storm management plan. Mr. Roby, will introduce us to that.
Yes, I'll ask Mr. Hauser to come forward and introduce himself and his guest here. I don't want to take too much of his introduction, but one of the City Council's goals in 2024-2025, as adopted by the Council, was to establish a stormwater management plan. We know anecdotally there are numerous stormwater issues within the City of Sueur. The City Council established a stormwater utility back in 2017 to start to proactively address these issues. With each progressive project that the Council has approved, there's always a stormwater component there to try to not only fix some of the known issues, but establishing a long-term plan is important not only for future project planning, but to make some of our problem areas more addressable by identifying the bigger root causes of some of these. What's the true watershed for a specific neighborhood, for example? We all know when rain is heavy, it's rolling down South Park Lane, Ford Regency, out on Elmwood. Most of us have seen that happen. This was a way of getting some engineering behind it. The city was able to leverage a grant through the state of Minnesota to fund the project, and this is the culmination of the work. And with that, I'll turn it to Mr. Hauser.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. So I'm Eric Hauser, city engineer with Bolton and Mink. I'm here with my colleague, Roberta West. She is a water resources leader at Bolton and Mink. So yeah, we're here to talk about the stormwater management plan. Just a couple other background items to add to what Mr. Roby stated is that's helped with this process kind of before we get into the report. In 2022, a GPS collection was completed on the stormwater system. So we were able to leverage that data to start our findings. As you mentioned, a goal for the city was to develop a stormwater management plan. So that's kind of what brings us here. The start of 2025, we did start the stormwater management plan. The city authorized some data collection and a pond assessment report that was done outside of the grant funding. And then later in 2025, in May, that grant was awarded through the MPCA. And one other thing that we wanted to point out, and we were mindful of in preparing this report, is as the Sueur's population nears 5,000, that would trigger the MS4 community. So that's a designation by the MPCA that has additional stormwater regulations as a part of it. So this report helps to prepare for that, provide some information that would be necessary if that designation were to happen. So with that, I'll turn it over to Roberta to talk more about the report.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me today. Again, Roberta Cronquist in our Water Resources Group at Bolton and Mink, and have overseen the development of the stormwater models for the city of Sueur. For this project, the tasks that were involved in developing this plan were first data collection. We started with GIS data from the city and updated that to provide more information to inform our modeling. We did a stormwater pond assessment to collect information about the existing pond infrastructure within the city of Sueur. Use that to develop stormwater modeling for both existing and proposed conditions, and then ultimately turn that into a list of recommended improvements for consideration for future drainage improvements within the city. The data collection, like Eric mentioned, started with that 2022 GPS data collection. The photo on the top, most of the manholes within the city of Sueur have 360 camera imagery. Not all of them, they aren't necessarily all accessible, but most of them have camera imagery so you can see where pipes are connecting. That really helps us understand how the stormwater system is functioning underground. And then we supplemented that data from 2022 with some additional as-built drawing research, survey information from other ongoing projects within the city, and then some field investigations where we had some gaps to fill. So most of the infrastructure that is now reflected in the city's GIS inventory has accurate spatially and elevation data that we use to inform our modeling. We also did a stormwater pond assessment that compiled a inventory and a stormwater report for all of the ponds within the city of Sueur that includes public and private pond infrastructure, and include information like when it was constructed, what type of pond it's intended to be. Is it intended to be wet? Is it intended to be dry? Does it provide a water quality benefit? Who owns it and who's responsible for maintenance of it? What the outlet infrastructure looks like, and then also as part of our modeling, we have water levels for all of those ponds as well, so we can understand how high those water levels are expected to rise in large rain events. And all of that pond information is included in a report that is a draft right now. We were waiting to finalize the stormwater modeling before we can finalize the water levels in the final pond report. So that'll be coming in shortly. We then used all of that infrastructure information to develop our existing stormwater model. We broke it into 4 watersheds: the northern area of the city, one watershed for the Minnesota River watershed that drains west, one for the Sueur Creek eastern draining watershed, and then the Elmwood southern draining watershed near the airport. So we have 4 different costs actually for the city of Sueur because they're pretty large footprint wise, and we're able to calculate peak flows in all of the pipes, as well as high water levels in the ponds, like I mentioned. And then identifying with the 1D, 2D combined modeling that we did, we also have some identified some areas where we have flooding depths within the streets or overland flooding areas and channels like Kingsway Channel that we can visualize where we think that flooding might occur when that storm drain system does become overtaxed. So we use that existing condition model to identify where do we have existing deficiencies within the system and where do we have areas that are flood prone. And we met with city staff to review our findings to make sure that that correlated well with the observations of city staff, which it did. So our recommendation moving forward is that these models get updated regularly as infrastructure changes within the city, as we do other capital improvement projects or development comes in the city. This model can be updated periodically so that it is maintaining always the most accurate information. So this report isn't intended to be a static document. It's just a really good launching point for new projects coming in and can inform decisions about what infrastructure maybe needs to be planned for in the future. So part of this project was to then develop a proposed stormwater model that identified where we have portions of the city that maybe don't have adequate infrastructure, or the infrastructure that's there isn't sized for the amount of rain that we've been seeing in the Sueur. And so within the report, we have a list of recommendations of proposed improvements, and that includes new pipes or replacement pipes, rerouting or abandoning some pipes. Pipes is the one way, maybe taking them to a different location, routing them through maybe a new pond to reduce peak flows and to try to reduce flooding in some of those areas, especially where we don't have a lot of infrastructure currently. And so there's a whole list of recommended improvements that we rolled up into our stormwater management plan report. And as part of that report, we identify 9 priority projects, and Eric's going to talk about those projects in more detail.
Thank you, Roberta. So yeah, we have 9 kind of recommended priority projects. You can see them here in the table shown. We did have estimated project costs associated with those projects. Those costs, I do want to note, don't include restoration. That project was part of the broader capital improvements plan. So like the Green Acres and the Smith Addition projects didn't have restoration costs necessarily included. So I'll go a little bit more in depth on some of those projects here and kind of some of the interesting takeaways we had as we were working through this report. The first one I wanted to cover was the North Main Street improvements. So you can kind of see the highlighted pipes here. So the green pipes would be upsized pipes. They were under capacity or couldn't quite keep up with all the water coming through them based on our modeling. Then an orange pipe would be a new pipe. So rerouting some flow to get it more directly towards the outlet. And a big significant portion of this project is we would plan to implement these improvements as a part of the 2027 Mill and Overlay project that's planned to happen jointly with the county on North Main Street. Next project I'll cover was the Ferry Street to community center improvements. So this focuses on the Kingsway drainage ditch, which I think when talking to staff is kind of the biggest concern in the city, maybe the biggest problem area of the drainage system. So a number of the CIP projects do focus on improvements targeted at improving the drainage ditch. And when I say that drainage ditch, I'm referring to the open channel that flows from Elmwood to Kingsway through the city. And so, yeah, a number of projects are focused on that. Through our analysis, we were able to determine that Ferry Street, the culvert crossing there, and then also the culvert crossing by the pedestrian crossing on the north side of the community center are really the biggest pinch points in this system. So that's kind of what's holding water back, maybe leading to flooding upstream of those areas. So this particular project would focus on replacing the culvert crossings with a 4x12 box culvert at both locations. This would allow more water to get through those crossings, lower the water level upstream, and reduce flooding impacts upstream of those locations. This project also includes taking the water from Outer Drive. There's currently some storm sewer that outlets on the south side ditch, we would route that directly across Berry Street to an outlet on the north side instead of the south side, reducing the amount of water going through that culvert. The next project is the Green Acres neighborhood. So currently this is an area with very little storm sewer. There's multiple low points that don't have a catch basin at all. I know Sueur and Fifth is an example of that. If you drive there after a rain, you always see water sitting there. So the focus of this project would be to extend storm sewer to those areas that are underserved. It also aligns with the next area of highest priority for the broader CIP within the city or capital improvement plan. And I did want to note it incorporates a pond kind of between Morningside and Park Lane, kind of on the bottom side of the figure shown. And the reason that pond is significant, when you start to pipe a lot more water or collect a lot more of the surface drainage, it gets through the system more quickly. So it would get into that drainage ditch more quickly. So in order to control the rate at which it gets to the drainage ditch, that pond gives you the ability for the water to go up while you slowly discharge into the drainage ditch. So you're not overwhelming the system with this improvement. The next would be the Smith Addition neighborhood. So that's the area south of Berry Street, west of Elmwood, east of 4th Street. Again, an area with very limited storm sewer. There's a lot of surface drainage just going along the streets, going from multiple blocks in this neighborhood. So again, we're expecting storm sewer to collect more of this in structures throughout that neighborhood. Similar to the Green Acres, we would propose a pond at Joe Eagle Anderson Park, so right on city property, really for the exact same intent that can control the rate at which that water is getting into the system, getting into that Kingsway drainage ditch. Also wanted to highlight the Dobbie Lane and Woods Drive improvement project. So there's multiple issues that have been observed really on Dobbie Lane from kind of the bottom of the hill or Mars Lane there by Cambria up to Woods Drive at the top of the hill. Currently there's a lot of erosion along the roadway that creates a lot of maintenance for city staff due to all the water running through those ditches. And then also along Deer Run Trail on the north end, there's some water that comes down from Woods Drive and is flowing across the property, creating some additional risk for that property owner with all the water flowing through their property. So this project looks at running pipe up the entire hill of Dobbie Lane. So instead of it running through a ditch system, it would run through a pipe to help eliminate some of that erosion. And then also on Woods Drive, instead of outletting further north, we would take that outlet route itself to an outlet that goes across the middle of Deer Run, where there's not such adverse impacts to private property with the water discharging down the hill. And then the last project I wanted to highlight would be the Park Lane Improvements Project. We just wanted to highlight the Park Knolls neighborhood really in general. There was a lot of areas without a lot of storm sewer there. So again, a lot of surface flow along the streets, which can create poor driving conditions during rain events. So this project extends storm sewer down Park Lane to help collect some of that storm water in some of those underserved areas. Also wanted to point out with this project that there's a large amount of water coming from the ag fields to the south, just like Mr. Roby alluded to, that is overland flowing onto Park Lane. We would recommend that future improvements or development consider routing that water to the south through the Elmwood Ravine. So there's just not enough capacity in the system to really handle all of that water that comes through those ag fields. So that really completes our presentation, and we'd be, I guess, looking to handle any questions or discussion council would like to have, and then ultimately looking for a motion to adopt the report as presented.
Mr. Hauser, appreciate it. It was a good report. You covered quite a bit of the city there. Anybody have any questions, concerns? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the citywide storm management plan as presented by Mr. Hauser and his associate.
Second.
Mr. Schleger, Councilmember Schleger, made the motion, seconded by Councilmember Huntington. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you. This takes us on to item 8B, and the second final reading of ordinance 620. Mr. Roby, you want to give us a little summary of this before I invite some of these people up to visit?
Yes, I would. Quick summary, City Code Chapter 153.103C addresses allowances for the limited keeping of chickens. This ordinance has been in place for some time. Working with the Sueur Police Department, staff identified some areas of concern. The ordinance specific to licensing and potential violations based upon a series of complaints that were coming into the police department. City Council waived first reading of the draft in 620 in March earlier this year, amending the code to clarify language and add an enforcement mechanism for the Sueur Police Department. The ordinance was then sent to the Planning Commission for review. Chapter 153 of the City Code is part of our zoning ordinance, and the Planning Commission generally has purview over the zoning code. Planning Commission met in April and in May, and then ultimately held a duly noticed public hearing on June 11th. So the Planning Commission has its April and May meetings, and then again in June. At the June meeting, discussed the terms, the language in the draft ordinance at the time, recommended some changes to that. And the following public hearing earlier this month, the Planning Commission made some final amendments to the ordinance language as summarized here, and I'll zip through them really quickly. It's in the memo and will be in the minutes of the Planning Commission, but modifications, section headings and numberings to improve the clarity. Now it's kind of just a stream of consciousness, series of bullet points. Makes it difficult for most people to understand. Modifications to the number of chickens allowed, granting additional allowances for number of hens per property based upon lot size. The current code disallows hens on lots smaller than 20,000 square feet. The current code also disallows roosters on any property, but disallows hens on lots smaller than 20,000 square feet. The Planning Commission's recommendation would be to begin allowing hens, up to 2 hens on lots containing at least 7,500 square feet, up to 10,000 square feet. Lots at 10,000 square feet or larger may have up to 3 hens, and then lots containing 20,000 square feet or more may have up to 5 hens. Then there's some additional language covering the administration of licenses, which is absent in the current code, and then the addition of violations and penalties language, which is frequent throughout city code, which is currently, again, absent in the current code. So again, Planning Commission has purview over this. The Planning Commission is recommending that the City Council consider and adopt the ordinance as presented. And I know we have a couple people here for public comment, and then we can take questions.
These amendments should make things, it looks like a little more inclusive.
We opened it up, yeah.
Planning Commission should open it up right now. Per the city code, it is against local law to have chickens unless you have a lot size that's 20,000 square feet or more. And the Planning Commission recognized that most residential lots in town are not 20,000 square feet size. Most of them are between 7,500 and say 15,000.
Kelly, Bobby Kelly, you want to,
Yes,
this is
thank
your
you.
opportunity to get up and address this if you wish.
Thank you to take time to guys for listening to this talk. I've lived in the store for 10 years. I've had chickens the whole time. And I have a nice little flock of 5 little chickens, little hens in my backyard. I don't have 10,000 feet. I don't even have 10,000 feet. But talk about 120 square feet for chickens. And you've got a lot of 7,000, 10,000, 5,000, it doesn't matter. 5 chickens in a little area is perfectly fine. I've got my lot here for chickens, their little run, their little house, the garden, lawn, home, everything fits perfectly in there. So 5 chickens, minimum of 5 chickens per household, I think that's a good number. 2 is not going to quite make it because chickens are a flock bird. They need to have a flock of chickens to be happy. If you lose one, you're going to have one very little chicken, it's going to die. Okay? 2 hens, and that's not going to work. Chickens can't be kept in the house. When everybody gets chickens, they usually get spring chicks, and your chicks come in March and April. It's too cold outside. It's cold. It's snowy. Your chickens have to be in the house. Your chicks. Adult chickens They get sick, they have to be in the house. They cannot be left outside with the flock. They're gonna get killed. Your baby chick has to be in the house. There's no other way to do it. My biggest question is why can't we not sell eggs? I would really like to know the reason. We're not being able to sell eggs. People sell eggs in those little hutches, that they have on their front yards. What's the difference? If somebody's selling eggs at the farmer's market, or selling eggs at home, or we're selling eggs in a little hutch somewhere, what's the difference? It's not like we're gonna have 10, 20 cars lining up for chickens, maybe a couple people a day, and that's it. The other thing too is the licensing and everything else. What I'd like to know is why do we have to pay the city for us to keep chickens? Chickens are not cheap. It takes a lot of money to keep a little flock of chickens. The housing, all the expenses, the bedding and everything that goes with chickens, it costs a lot. Why do we have to pay the city to keep chickens? Okay, I can understand $5, register your chickens, that's fine. But the way this is written, you guys can raise it every year, just like you did with dog licenses. It started at 5, last I heard it's up to 9. Storm Sueur started at 5, now it's up to 13. It keeps creeping up. Are you going to do the same thing with the chickens too? It's going to cost $5 to register your birds. What's it going to cost next year? Once the birds are registered for 1 year, that should be all you need, okay? The other thing I want to talk to you about is noise and smell. Life, everyday life in the store, it's noisy. People are living their lives, it's noisy. You've got motorcycles, lawnmowers, kids barking, and the kids laughing and talking, dogs barking the whole 9 yards. Life carries noise. Chickens are no different. Chickens are no noisier than anybody's kids in their backyard playing. In fact, they're probably even quieter. The chicken sings a song when she lays an egg. It's called her chicken. It's her egg song. That's it. She'll cluck and talk. They're not a noisy bird. You keep your chickens clean, like ours. We've got straw, we've got hay, shavings. Keep them clean. They don't smell. And the compost pile, I had to laugh at that one. Look at down here, Bullride. Look at the piles of everything you've got. Those are all compost piles that have no smell. And chicken manure is the same way. It doesn't smell. I have rabbits and have a garden. We just want to be able to have our own compost pile, no smell, and take care of our gardens. It's so simple, you guys. It really is. There's no issues. The compost, the noise is there isn't. My chickens have been in my backyard for 10 years. Not one complaint. Not one. In fact, the neighbors, they like it, So I just want to tell everybody that has chickens, you guys, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Is it Ken Markham? You want to step up, Ken? There's a learning experience in chickens.
Oh, thank you.
I thank you for listening. I'm very pro chicken. I raised 10 kids on a farm outside of Henderson, and 2 chickens per person would not cut it, and especially in the winter when everybody knows they lay a lot less eggs. And with our...
Can you identify yourself and your address, please?
Oh, I'm Ken Markham. I have a 514 Dexter Street.
Go ahead, sir.
And with the federal administration kind of injecting insecurity in our food security, I think it's important that, we all do our little, to me, it's an act of protest. I have a big garden and try to be as self-sufficient as I can. And, being on a fixed income too is another reason, for eggs. And that, to me, it's a good source of protein, a good balance for food. And raising a tax on food is kind of going backwards with food security and financial security. And I understand guidelines. I mean, I think it would be silly not to have some, but I'd like to see the minimum go up. I don't know how many square feet I have in my yard, but I know it's not 20,000. Pretty much all I got. I just want to see more chickens.
Thank you, Mr. Markham. appreciate you addressing the council. Anybody else? Any council members have anything they want to add? Any questions?
I just think this ordinance is way too restrictive. Studies have shown, and a lady mentioned this at the last planning meeting, that you need to at least a minimum of 3 hens to avoid one chicken being pecked to death if you just have 2. I also don't agree with the licensing. When does it stop? I mean, people have birds in their houses that are caged. I mean, do we need to license them as well? I definitely don't agree with not being able to sell the eggs in town. To me, that is government overreach on controlling food. I just do not agree.
Thank you.
Everybody, I'd like to add the same sentiments that Wendy gave as well. My next door neighbor has 5 hens and they don't smell, and I enjoy the noise. It's very little. My dog barks more than the chickens next door. I agree with Wendy as well. I think the licensing of hens is ridiculous, overreaching. I think people should be allowed to sell eggs if they want to. We have other people in town who sell food off of hutches, like Ms. Kelly had mentioned. They should be allowed to sell eggs as well. That's my feeling. I'll be voting no against this ordinance.
I'd just like to make a comment. The original ordinance that we had in here was quite restricted. It was the first ordinance we ever had on it. And I'll admit, I was a test subject when I first had chickens, so I know what it's like to have chickens. I started with 3, I had 8 at the end, which was way too much even for my property. We had this test ordinance out there for quite a few years. We have had some issues with a couple people, but we need an enforcement mechanism. We need guidelines. We have chickens in Sueur. A lot of communities around here do not. One thing I would like to stress to everyone who's in the audience tonight, we did have a public hearing on this at the planning commission level. And I would like everyone here to participate when we are actually having discussions. We have 2 people up front who did come to the hearing. When we're having these discussions, it really helps if everyone can come when we are having the discussions so we can get things in place. We had a couple months of discussions on this and the public hearing just recently. The feeling I'm getting right now is we're probably going to have to table this again because you did not show up when we had noticed it in the paper when we have the hearing for this. I'm glad you're all here tonight, but participation in government means actually paying attention to what's happening, showing up, and having your voice heard at the proper time. So right now, I'm feeling if this is going to get tabled, it's probably going to have to go back to the planning commission again. And I don't anticipate it's going to open up any more than it's already opened up, because this is opening it up quite a bit from what we had before. So right now, I am just going to say, let's table this, let's send it back to the planning commission, because I've already heard 2 people say they're going to vote against it. That's going to be my recommendation. And I'd like to keep talking this now.
Yes, thank you so much. I love seeing this and that you came and spoke about how you feel about it. Like council member said, I wish you would have been here earlier as well. So I will tell you why, from the law enforcement side, why this came about. First of all, those of you that spoke, I didn't even know you had chickens. That is the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Because we never receive complaints. Unfortunately, there are several members in the community that we know their names. We know that they have chickens, and they have between 10 and 15 chickens. They let them run at large, bothering the neighbors, making the dogs go crazy. So now we have a bunch of different issues that are going on. And when we have approached them, they did not care. So this is a problem that we have no enforcement on it. I love chickens. My husband would not let me have chickens. But I love that you can have that and that you can have your eggs. All that stuff like is beyond me. But the law enforcement part is when you have neighbors, we have people that truly don't care about their neighbors. And the birds become a nuisance. Just like a dog at large would become a nuisance. Just like a dog barking. I love the noise of chickens. We're not talking about that noise. We're talking about the roosters. That when I'm coming in at 5 in the morning, I can hear them. And when I first started coming here, I said, do we have roosters here? And they're like, no, we do not. Well, I said, okay, we will wait for a complaint. And those complaints came. So whatever your choices are, however you take care of your animals, if we have those ordinance for the dogs, for cats, that unfortunately has to fall for the birds as well for the few that do not follow the rules. So I will be like, and I will come to the planning commissions as well if you guys want to hear, but obviously we need more of a conversation. But the fact is, I know many people that have chickens that shouldn't have chickens because they do not take care of them the way that they should. And you can see that, you smell it as you approach the door. So there's just a lot of different things, and we couldn't do much. Does it take it, like, I have to take the birds away when they're running at large and send them to breeder better? I hope I don't have to, right? But when we have a constant call, we have at least 5 habitual offenders in town, and they know who they are. And that is the problem. So I would love more conversation if that's what the council decides, and have that conversation and just take care of your animals, and then we wouldn't be here. I will correct you though, the licensing was already part of it. People had to license their chickens before. This is not new.
And
So, and we have brought the licenses to people, and they ignore that as well. I don't care what we do with it. I just want something that we can protect the whole community, and everybody can have whatever they want to have at their homes.
One other comment I'd like to make on this. We are opening it up on this proposed ordinance here right now. Right now, everyone who has chickens in town is not in compliance with the current ordinance. So the police chief could basically go to everyone who has chickens right now and find them being not in compliance. And we are trying to make it so everyone can be in compliance, but.
And that's something else, I'm sorry to interrupt. We do not go around and look in people's yards to see if they have chickens. This is based, it's a reactive when people complain. That's why I recommend you. So.
I was wondering, you're gonna have the chicken place peek over our fences.
We have way too many things going on to worry about that. And that's something else. We are wasting our time going, when we should be doing other things, going to knock at people's homes to say, I need to grab your chickens. They're outside. They're by the neighbor, they're in the neighbor's yards. So, yes, I would love for this to get solved, but everybody should be showing up that they have.
I think everybody here is good stewards with their chickens. That's why you're here. There's no doubt about that. I think what Chief Sueur needs is a little bit of teeth to bite into the people that are not complying, or getting complaints, or they're not watching over things the way they should be. This actually gives us a tool so that we can enforce it. So with that said, anybody else have anything? Otherwise, we've got really 3 choices here. We can conduct the reading, or waive the reading tonight, or we can send this back to the commission with some modifications.
And my feeling from the planning commission is they've already cleaned it up quite a bit from what it was before, and they did make modifications to it with comments from people who did show up at the public hearing. So they did make some change. I don't know if they're gonna go much beyond what it is right now, but if we don't get support at the council level right now, we got people who are not in compliance, and how are we gonna enforce? That's my concern. I'd just like to hear from all the council members right now, how they feel on it. I have a motion.
I
Let's
agree that
table
we
it.
should table it.
I make the motion, we table it. Send it back to the planning
I think
board.
it helps to hear from the police chief to understand why they need for the license, to enable her to enforce the rules that you already do. You already are respectful with your chickens and respectful of your neighbors, but apparently there are some that aren't and have gotten complaints, and so she needs to have some rulings in here, some descriptions that have consequences. So that's why this is part of what's being done. I'd like to see a little bit where you adjust the numbers a little bit. I think 6 chickens and then 4 chickens, and then if the lot is really small, then 3 chickens. But that's kind of where, that's me, just talking to a few people that have chickens, about 1 person. So anyway, I like to see a table and go back.
Wait a second.
Yep, I said.
Okay, we have a motion to table this from now on. It's been seconded by Councilmember Williams. First motion was made by Councilmember Schmieder. Any other discussion? Comments?
I guess my comment is, if we already know what we need is the action that can follow for correction. Why couldn't we just adapt whatever it is to include that language and not put these limits on that the people that know chickens don't seem to agree with. So.
Well, right now we have a motion to table this and seconded. Then we go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, correct? And then that's where they can.
But he did say he didn't think they're gonna change the language.
Well, maybe if they had more participation, more verbalization or presence of the people that do chickens well, that maybe could sway.
Participation has helped if the public come to the public hearing and make their voice heard at that time. They may sway planning commission on what they recommend.
So that said, we got a motion maybe to table this for now. It's seconded by Councilmember Williams. Any other discussion? Comments? Concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Roby takes on the resolution of the Southern publication of the ordinance. Now, do we skip by this for now?
Yes, I would also recommend, staff recommendation to table this as well.
Okay. With that said, I'll make a motion.
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm so sorry. I just wondered, when you go back to this, how do you let people know when these meetings are? Because I did not even know that you had these meetings. Are they posted in the paper, on Facebook?
Posted in our official paper, which is the Henderson paper. It's also posted down in city.
It's on the website the same way. You can sign up to get notifications for all the meetings.
Yeah, I do understand that too. I just feel like if you want to get more people out there, like, and I agree, more people should be there. It might just be, there's only 4,000 people in this town. It shouldn't be hard to get a hold of every, to get a hold of people and let them know about it. So that's just my only suggestion. So, thank you.
Thank you. So with resolution on 2026-038, containing
a motion to table it.
There's been a motion to table that.
Second.
Councilmember Schmieder. Motion came from Councilmember Sueur had the motion, Councilmember Williams seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Next on the resolution R 2026-037, IUOE Local 49 Labor Agreement. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works Facilities and Airport Department operators are represented by the International Union of Operating Engineers, or IUOE Local 49, which they have been represented by them for a number of years. The last labor agreement expired December 31st, 2025. Was a 2-year agreement. The city and union have negotiated in good faith on terms of a new 2-year collective bargaining agreement to cover these operators. The resolution in front of council tonight would approve adoption, or would approve the execution of this new 2-year labor agreement with the Public Works Facilities and Airport operators. In the 2024-2025 agreement, it was Public Works. Since that time, part of the negotiations was adding facilities and airport language to job descriptions to recognize that these employees are covering things like maintenance and service at the airport and also city facilities. So that's why it's now Public Works Facilities and Airport.
Thank you, Mr. Rowley. Anybody have any questions regarding this agenda item? I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2026-037 as presented by Mr. Rowley.
So moved.
Councilmember Huntington.
Second.
Councilmember Nelson, thank you. Second it. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Takes us on to agenda item 8E, the resolution R 2026-039, a polling place location. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is fairly straightforward, a little bit unfortunate, but due to the delays in making repairs to the police station down at City Hall, staff are recommending that the polling place for the 2026 election cycle, which includes the August primary and the November general election, be changed from City Hall to 3 South 2nd Street to the community center, and specifically the gym at the community center. The gym at the community center is generally considered equally, if not possibly more accessible. Parking is better, but we say we'll be able to get back in council chambers for any of these public meetings, let alone the primary election in August. So all meetings, all public meetings have already been noticed to take place here at the fire hall through August. And just because of the uncertainty on the timeline, staff are recommending that City Council adopt the resolution before the council, designate the community center gym as the location of the primary and general election.
It all makes sense. Anybody have any questions, comments? Not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution R 2026-039 is presented.
So moved.
Councilmember Huntington.
Second.
By Councilmember Schlichter. Any discussion, comments, concerns? Not all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. On to resolution R 2026-032, public safety and fund transfer. Mr. Roby. Or are we going to go straight to Mr. Graff?
Let's go straight to Mr. Graff.
Welcome, Mr. Graff.
All right, thanks for having me, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just got a couple of items here to wrap it up tonight. The first one is a resolution to approve a public safety fund transfer. Back in 2023, the city was here to receive some funds, public safety aid from the state of Minnesota. It was just shy of $185,000 that could be used for various public safety needs. Once we move forward into 2024, I believe spring, I think we brought forward to council to approve allocating $90,000 of that for a new grass rig for the fire department. Now that the fire department has purchased that grass rig, that was 2 council meetings ago that was approved. We are just asked to move those funds from our general fund where they were initially received and move them into the 420 capital improvement fund so we can match our revenue and expenses.
Very good. And all these funds are all promoted, so they're all, you know what category they're for.
Correct.
Anybody else? draft. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adopt resolution R 2026-032 as presented. Thank you, Councilmember Williams.
Second.
Councilmember Nelson, thank you. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. It's on the resolution R 2026-03 transfers. You again, Mr.
This is me again. We've got a couple of different fund transfers within this resolution. These are both debt service fund related. It's very common and actually expected practice whenever we would set up a debt service fund that at some point that debt is going to be paid off and we will have some balance in there because it's never perfect. These that we have here for you are a little bit unique. The first one is in regards to the 2025 North 4th Street project and the $500,000 that we received from the county for the South 37 turn back. We received that $500,000 in the early stages of the North 4th Street project. We knew the total scope of what that was going to be and had made some assumptions that we would most likely have to borrow and bond for some components of the project. So we received this $500,000 into a debt service fund. As the project evolved and more cost and expense was related to sewer and water, we realized that with this $500,000 and some of the LRIP funding that we received, that we did not have to borrow for the street improvement portion of the project. So for that $500,000 and some change, we have received a little bit of interest on that too, but we're asking for approval to move that from the debt service fund 331 to our more construction fund, which is the 431, because there is no debt for that portion of the project. I think that we're doing these separately.
No, I just put it in.
Okay. All right. And then the second portion is approving a debt service fund in regards to our kinetic capital leasing lease that we paid off right at the end of 2025. So there is no more activity in that fund. There is a material balance in there of, I'm checking the notes. It is just, the balance is what, just under $290,000. Why do you have that balance in there? We go back in time towards 2018, 2019, when we entered into the kinetic lease agreement. We didn't have a debt service fund approved. We just were coding it to our 420 capital improvement fund. During the 2018 audit that was taking place in 2019, we were notified that we needed to create a capital debt service fund. And so at that point, Capital Lease Fund 324 was created. However, after that, there was some annual payments that were still coded to the 420. So we took money from the 420 fund that we need to allocate that portion back. That is around $170,000. The remaining balance, which is around $115,000, will go back to the general fund because we did have some money sitting in escrow. So we did allocate money during taxes in past years where we had escrow funds where we did not need all of those tax settlements that we received. We also budgeted a little bit too high for one year. And so we have this balance sitting in the 324 fund that some should go to the 420. The rest of it should go to the general fund because that's where we collected the tax from. So this motion just is to allow us to do the one journal from the 331 fund to the 431 for the 2025 North 4th Street project. And then the second part would be moving dollars out of the 324 fund to the 420 capital improvement fund and the general fund. So that was kind of a lot, but if there's any questions, I'll entertain that.
Then one more question. You said that forestry, is that what we just did last year?
Right.
So we don't have to bond that out at all?
For the street portion, the only borrowing we did there was the PFA loans that were brought forward. So we did do some PFA loans for the water and the wastewater. And we got those at the low rate financing. But normally we're also bonding separately for the street portion, but we didn't need to with those additional funds. We could just pay for that project as it went along.
Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution R 2026-033 as presented. So moved. Thank you, Councilmember Nelson.
Second.
Councilmember Huntington seconded. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Gray. Appreciate it. You took us right into the reports and items of appreciation. Thank you. We will start with Councilmember Huntington.
I've got nothing.
Tonight, Councilmember Nelson. Nothing. Okay, thank you. Councilmember Schrader.
I attended a housing forum on the 10th and Mankato Planning Commission meeting on the 11th. Region 9 full board meeting on the 17th, Chamber meeting on the 18th, and an EDA meeting earlier this evening, which Administrator Romy gave a good recap on.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
I have attended a planning commission meeting, a jury meeting, EDA meeting, and a county meeting. And I am also attending the League of Minnesota Cities annual conference this week.
Thank you. Councilmember Williams.
Went to a HRA meeting last week. Other than that, I just want to comment that the library, I appreciate their scheduled events. It seems to hit about every age group, and I really appreciate that. It's what they do, everything they do to our community.
Thank you. I have not much to report tonight, other than I want to congratulate the Proud Dates on becoming the Grand Marshal of the Senior Night Celebration. I can't believe we're into that part of the season already. With that, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.